Yes, Molten here.
Hey, good day. How are you?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Greetings.
Yeah, welcome to the program. Actually, I run into you by like no one told me about you. I just run into you by browsing, and I on my way browsing, looking into your profile and looking into what you do. Um, I was very impressed with a young man coming out from the Caribbean, especially the island of Saint Vincent, um, making himself into a filmmaker. What's the drive behind that?
Well, it started out of trying to solve a problem in my community or in St. Vincent. And the problem is nobody has ever really sort of, or not nobody. There aren't a lot of examples of people from St. Vincent who make a life in the creative industries. My God-given talent is that I could draw, and I didn't want to like leave it and just like do the mundane things that they say you have to do in St. Vincent. I was a student of the grammar school and all of that, and the pressures that comes with education in St. Vincent, especially when you're not from like a rich family. So
Mhm.
um I just kind of like did everything I could do, to maximize my education, but also hold on to my art. And when the time came that what St. Vincent could offer in terms of education, when it came to an end, I did the exams and I also did the exams for art and design, and the results for like a painting class at the community college. The teacher was Ronnie Rudet. The results was it was like a distinction, like a grade A at this Cambridge exam. And one of the millionaires who was living in the Grenadines decided to to support me. He had seen the Governor General had seen some of my work at the exhibition that we had put on, just a bunch
Mhm.
of us in St. Vincent. And and he had seen the work, and he said, he introduced me to Mr. Felix Bennis, who sponsored my degree at Cave Hill to study filmmaking. And that's how the journey with the camera started, you know. But
Mhm.
before that, the problem, like I said, was how to like, understand you have this talent, see there's an industry out there, and being on the island and trying to figure out how to be a part of that still. I would say my major motivated factor is to be able to work in the creative industries with my trained profession and whatever, but I want to work from St. Vincent at the highest levels possible, with the highest production value, as any other place in the world, like media companies usually go to different places, and there's a role, a job called a fixer, where somebody comes and they create a sort of like local liaisons person. And I think if we could set that up, given that St. Vincent had been used for Pirates of the Caribbean and the lesser known White Squall, which is actually a Ridley Scott film, you know, I feel like if we were able to like tap into that and manage it, we could put ourselves there as a destination that is feasible, for locations for different films, and that could be another sort of employment for young people. And
Mhm.
if we could funnel that, I feel like like different things could happen. It would have like different linkages. The film industry is if you have like two or three films in your local economy, let's say every year, like that is going to raise the GDP of the whole area in general, because of how many linkages filmmaking creates. Because it's
Right.
not just the persons who making the movie. There's restaurants, there's people who make costumes, there's people who make props, you know, and we have all of those skill sets in St. Vincent, but we just, if we could bring them together. And
Right.
in my own way, I have given myself that challenge. I'm not the only person who has seen this as a potential, and not the only person who has taken it on. But there's a few of us who live here in St. Vincent, or in St. Vincent and the diaspora who, who believe in, developing the creative industries and who see, who kind of like forget about complaining about all of the challenges with the local infrastructure and just, just use what we have. Since the 2000s started, cameras became cheaper and, people on the island started to afford, a camera that can shoot at high quality. The information is there. A lot of it is on YouTube, as cliche as that sounds. And some people like myself had the opportunity to go away to universities and study this thing. And, we're like professionals in different aspects of it. And we live here and we're trying to do what people in Latin America do, what some people in Jamaica do, which is, develop the local culture. Just work with the elements of the space and develop that, and use the stories and the narratives of what we have on the ground and put that out there, And in St. Vincent, well, we have a ton, we have lots, we have so much to share, especially when it comes to stories.
True. So initially, I didn't realize that you were a graphic artist until a few weeks ago. And when I first saw you, I saw you on, I think it was your YouTube channel that you were doing an interview. And I thought, well, wow, this guy knows a lot of history about St. Vincent and Grenadines. So, and it was around the same time when me and my friend, we were talking to each other about Garifuna and the Caribs. So if you, for the purpose of our listeners, is there a difference between the Garifuna and the Caribs? And if there is, would you like to just clarify that difference for us?
Well, the difference, if we want to point out the difference, and the first thing I would like to do in pointing out the difference, we're continuing in the tradition of the British, because that's what the British did. They pointed out the difference between these people, and they used that difference to justify their reasons to take the island. They say the black ones must be descendants of slaves, maybe who escaped from Barbados, or slaves who escaped from different shipwrecks, but there were lots of shipwrecks. And the Grenadines was even used as a prison in some cases, like they would bring prisoners and drop them off in the Grenadines, and then other, make a sale or whatever, and other people would take them and continue. So they use that distinction, which you want me to explain, And the distinction is the fact that the black ones are the ones who people would say are black, are the ones who are considered to be Garifuna. They're the ones who look like the modern day Vincentian. They're considered to be Garifuna, which is like first generation synthesis of Taino and African. But the difference in the story, as in the story that the British give to us, is that the origins of the Garifuna is not as the British claim, and there isn't anything to like explain it. And as a lot of modern research and different explanations come up to like sort of like renounce Columbus and to renounce the whole Europeans discovering the West and all of that. There's a story emerging there that says there's a fleet of sailors, adventurers who left the West Coast from Mali as part of this exploration with Abu Bakari, who is the predecessor of Mansa Musa, who crossed the Atlantic and may have come through St. Vincent and may have, interacted with it's those people who came up from the Orinoco Valley in Central America. I guess the best way to describe them would be like they're more closer to like the Maya or like the Aztecs in terms of the culture and in terms of the physique, So the story is that the Kalinago is interbred with Africans who came to St. Vincent at some point in time, maybe before slavery, before the colonials, before Columbus, maybe in the 1300s. Maybe that's the origin. but their babies who are melanated Tainos are Garifuna. So if you want to say melanated Kalinago, it's Garifuna.
So the original Garifuna, they're originally from St. Vincent.
Yeah, originally from St. Vincent. Actually, the Garifunas of Central America are the survivors. They're actually like prisoners of war who were exiled by the British to create St. Vincent. So if you go to Nicaragua, if you go to Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, if you know the map of Central America, you know that's all one big beach all the way up to the Yucatan. So if you go to the coast of that, you will see people who look like us Vincentians, who, you know, everything about them is just like us. Even some of the food they eat, even how they cook it. But they speak Spanish, and they speak Garifuna, which is Amerindian language, which is the language of the Kalinagos. But in St. Vincent, the true descendants of the Kalinago, you know, as in the descendants of the people who were there before Columbus, they don't speak this language that the people remember in Central America. So it's like a crazy sort of conundrum where people in the homeland don't know the language of the homeland, and people exiled from the homeland still speak the language. So right now we're going through a sort of like interesting reintegration conversation, hopefully a genesis of something new, you know?
Of course, we're going to get into your film Hairuna, and in Hairuna you highlighted a lot of information in that film, and it's really worth for everyone to watch. I haven't really watched it as yet, but I looked at a few clips, and I'm just waiting at the opportune time to have a look at it. So because I think we were taught that Caribs was another name. The Carib was another name for Garifuna. So I guess that's another misinformation there.
Well, as you know, the schooling system in St. Vincent was literally transplanted here. You know, like how you take a banana tree and you plant another one. Like the English people came and they tried to create their system, so they taught their history. So what they taught was from the time they came to St. Vincent and how they see things, and we inherited that as our history. So they taught us what they thought they knew, and we swallow that, like, you know, the whole Kool-Aid and everything and the sugar and everything. So when you say Carib, you're speaking the word of an Englishman, which is like saying, well, pardon my French, you know, which is like saying nigger, or saying some other, or coolie, some other derogatory term that people people from one culture who don't understand another culture make up a word to sort of describe them, and you know, that word embeds all the stereotypes and, you know, all these sort of judgments. But the people didn't call themselves Carib, you know. I mean, today the Caribbean comes from that word, you know, and the Caribbean right now is like a space that inherits all of that trauma from, you know, the interaction between all of these worlds coming together. But it's very interesting that the Caribbean is named after the Carib, but the Carib is actually called Kalinago. So the whole Caribbean should be, I don't know, Kalinago land. Something, you know. So, I mean, of course, there's a word for the whole region in different, you know, like in different indigenous languages of this space, because Kalinago is one group of Taino. And Taino now is the big group from, you know, the bigger islands, like Cuba is actually the name of the Taino name of that island, you know. Haiti, which Haiti, that is the name of the of that island, you know, that's the Taino name. But
look.
When you know, so you know, it's like a whole other nation was here, just like our Europe have Europe and they have French and Spanish and this and that. You know, there was a whole nother world.
Look, I know you have like a lot of education for us. I didn't say information because I mean it's really education for us. And like I was telling Sip, we're gonna have to do a part two with you because I know you full. You just full
Of the fight.
and sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all.
Yeah, and like I'm so proud of someone like you, man, that's following up on the history because I always wonder what happens when people like Dr. Adrian Fraser and those guys moved on. Who's going to take up the mantle of preserving our history and educating the younger one? So just before Sip jumps in, um, I want to ask you about you were instrumental in a protest to have a statue of Joseph Chatier or a national hero put up somewhere on the island. How is that going and how far did you get on that progress?
Well, the protest really it's really like a intellectual protest or a protest of ideas because I mean in reality none of us really wants to go down to Kingston and pull down the Iron Man. I mean in reality we don't want to do that. But the whole point was to make a point because all these statues are coming down and the Iron Man literally feels like it comes from that era or that idea of thinking, Right. But we know the Iron Man. We know the Iron Man is a war monument.
Right, because I read that you don't really want the Iron Man removed. You just want to see our hero there.
Exactly. We want to be able to drive around St. Vincent and point and look and say, oh look, Chatier. We want to be like, in a space where everybody could go and pose and take pictures and just like how the other countries celebrate their hero. Like we want that too, so that we could see like a nation, feel proud of this little, of this island here. That's what we want.
So is anybody listening? Are there talks going on right now about it?
The conversation didn't make it off social media. So that's as far as the talks went. I mean, some of the responses were like very surprising because some people were very threatened, but more so threatened by the idea of pulling down the statue. I mean, nobody is against putting up a statue of Chatier, but the sensation of the conversation that kind of started gives me the impression that a lot of people are still holding on strong to these colonial ties. They value them dearly. They're very important to them, and they might even like defend them. Well, I don't know how far they'll go.
I mean, if my thing is if they think it's going to threaten the Iron Man and you don't want two statues in town, I mean, I'm pretty sure you'll appreciate it being above the river or in Georgetown or somewhere. At least we will have tourists coming up to this side.
Right. It don't have to be in town. I mean,
right, exactly.
Kingston. If you rename Kingston, to the name it was before,
I just want to ask you, you won an award recently. Tell us all about that award.
Oh, well, it's not really an award. It's like it was a regional competition put on by Digicel to promote its new VOD, which is its video on demand service called well, it's not just video on demand, it's like different features, it's music and games and other things, but it's called Digicel Playgo. And they had a regional competition to sort of encourage content creators on the islands. And I submitted the Hairuna project, and it won in the professional category for documentary. So that's the current thing but it's So I mean, I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to like showcase the work and also to feel feel like Digicel is supporting content creators. I mean, it feels like a natural thing for them to do. They are telecommunications. This is media, and everybody, like since COVID happened, the value of content from places like this kind of went up because people want to see interesting things, diverse things. So, like I'm extremely happy that Digicel did this. I would like to see them continue programs like this to work with the creators on the ground. And the version of the film that I submitted is actually a sort of first draft, like a work in progress, because the entire Hairuna Land of the Blessed project wants to travel to Central America so that we could do interviews with Garifuna, descendants of the people that were exiled from St. Vincent 200 years ago. We want to have their voice in this discussion on how we go forward. We want that as part of our like how we have this conversation going on about reparations, and we want this reparation money to fix some of the challenges in our societies, which is well justified, and I'm in complete support of that. But there are also other things that we as individuals can do to sort of repair our own personal, trauma. And for me, this film is that. And I think the journey, when captured in cinema, when captured in image and sound, can be shared with many people. So it wouldn't just be my journey to reparations. It would be a reparatory journey that could be shared with other Vincentians and other people who have the same sentiment, who feel the same things I feel, So that's the goal of the project. Yeah.
Where do you get your inspiration from to accomplish all this? Where does it start?
Like I said, it started a long time ago, to prove a point and to basically say that, you could come from anywhere and do anything. But in a sort of like real world, which I've come to accept and understand, because I start off in a very ideal space, full of idealism. You meet all kind of challenges, and I kind of discovered that in persevering and meeting the challenge and fighting it through and coming out, and whether you're triumphant or you get beat and you say, okay, I know I could do better next time. In that whole process is how you start to like attain success. I mean, like this moment and the reasons why you're having this conversation with me may have taken 10 years to happen. This competition and the ability for me to speak so like eloquently about my thoughts and my ideas, this has taken a lifetime, So if anything, I just want to share that when I get tired, when I get frustrated, like every other Vincentian, with how things just go on the island sometimes, and with this whole journey, because I'm a Black guy from an island in the Caribbean, and I'm fully aware of how the industry goes and how things are. I just listened to Razam, Razam Shallow. There's played now during Independence Week. His song "Fight On," Perseverance. I don't know if you know it, but I just I listened to that and just kind of like reinvigorate me to continue again.
In this field, there's always obstacles. Can you give me a little bit of maybe some obstacles that you encounter on your journey?
So I guess the first big obstacle was the fallout in like when they tell you that education is key, and to get an education, they're completely right, but there are other things that sort of needs to come with that, or the different types of education. And you might go to school, you might go as far as a university, but if you're not clear about certain things within yourself, then you might know how to use that education. I feel this has been a journey of mine. The other thing I would say, so that has been a challenge. I think there are not enough mentors in our space here in St. Vincent. So when young people, even if they follow their path and follow their dream, when they come back to the island, well, in my opinion, I feel you can in the older levels. I find that everybody is sort of like very tribalized and caught up in their own thing, which is fair and fine. I mean, all the way in it, and I accept it now. But I definitely was disillusioned, and I I still believed in that that community thing, you know, like I grew up in a community, you know, like I'm from the late 80s. I grew up in a community, and I feel like I'm coming to terms with the fact that the community has like fell out of the forefront or the focus of island life. So, you know, that has been a challenge, but you have to do it however you can. And then the other thing is resources. Like I say, I started my whole exploration in filmmaking at the University of the West Indies, where they had a wonderful stock of equipment. When I finished my degree with my honors, and I came back to St. Vincent, I didn't have the equipment nor the finances to get the equipment, so I had to figure that out. And in that interim, I had to I had to figure out a way to get myself employed so I could start walking, get my feet off the ground, and also continue down this path in the creative industries in the audiovisual sector, which is non-existent in St. Vincent. So, you know, you have to be like creative and do things you're not comfortable doing. I do film weddings, but I don't like them. But sometimes it's what you have to do to earn a little bit of money to buy a camera to film that big movie idea you want or you have. So that has been my journey, you know, where you work, you use your creative skills, and you work and you build up to another level, and then when you get that bit, you build up again, and you just sort of continue, because it's not like in the US where you could go down the road and go to a rental house and rent a camera, or you have to own the gear, and then, you know, custom duties are high. Like when you done buy it in the US, you still have to ship it, and when you reach it, you still have to pay for it, because cameras are considered luxury items. You know, the computers are duty free, thank God, but the cameras, you have to pay some customs. So, you know, just that process, and trying to work in that process, and even being bold enough to attempt to be an entrepreneur within that process, and not having the resources to do it, or even the know-how or the guidance has been a challenge. I've had the benefit of having mentors outside of St. Vincent. I've had one mentor in St. Vincent. Her name is Bonnie Rudet. She was my teacher of visual arts at the community college, and we've been having the same conversation all these years, continued. But apart from that, everybody is people I met at university or at different opportunities I've had outside of St. Vincent. And, you know, you use the internet, and you use the WhatsApp and the various means of communication to create your virtual community. And when you need advice or feedback, you know, you work with who you rally around you and who stick around, and, you know, you work with what you have. And that's been the journey, just figuring out how to do that, you know, because, you know, coming out of university, I was very like disillusioned, like coming back to St. Vincent, because the way how people respond to you is different, you know, like the physical way when you show up at a business place with an idea and you say, well, this and this, and this is how much it might cost, even though for you, because you work in different spaces across the region, you know, like this is like very, very low cost in terms of like a production cost. But the space in St. Vincent hasn't like developed enough to appreciate that or to understand that. So, you know, just to be able to work with that.
If someone has an idea and they want to get into what you are doing, what advice would you have for them?
I would say you write down your idea, put your idea on paper. A lot of people keep their ideas in their heads. So I would start with putting it on paper. And then there is like a 1, 2, 3 process where you go through to prepare your idea so that other people within this industry could understand it. And it's a story, so you have to have like a log line, a synopsis. That's how you explain the format in which you explain your idea to anybody in the industry. And then you move from there. I mean, depending on what the theme of your story is, there's lots of different opportunities or artist development programs out there, and you just have to look for them. Like I said, it depends on the theme of your project. Like my this project Hairuna has to do with the indigenous history, so it's about heritage, it's about preservation, it's about memory, and there are lots of different organizations out there who are set up to support projects like that. And the challenge for me has been to get this project in front of them. And to do that, I've done many different things from, the first thing they say you need to have is like a dossier of your project, which is like a PDF that outlines different aspects of the project. You start with the log line, the synopsis, the intended audience, if you have a distribution method that you want to employ, and also some sort of like aesthetic proposal, just a document outlining that, and a budget. And then that's the basic element that you need to have. And then you try to find people who you think would be interested in that as a audiovisual product. And so the next thing you could develop is also a pitch, which is like a 3 to 7 minute audio conversation pitch of your project. So I've had the opportunity to go to some film festivals, in the Caribbean and also in like North America and Latin America. And when you go there, you have to like know your project well enough to be able to just explain it to everybody you meet in under 3 minutes or under 5 minutes. And that's what you do when you go to these festivals. You meet people who have significant roles in the industry. And if you pitch a project, and if you pitch it to the right person, they might be able to connect you to the right organization that could help you secure that budget that you want. That's the way how I've been doing it, but that's not the way how it is done in many countries, because many countries have what they call cultural development funds or grants set up to develop the young artists and creatives within that space. But there are none of those in St. Vincent. So I've been fortunate, to be a part of emerging filmmaker programs that target North Americans as part of their goal to maybe diversify or to tell stories that are more democratic. But on the home front, it's a little challenging still to rally support or you have to be clever. You have to be clever, and you have to know how to pitch your project, which I'm developing that cleverness right now, to pitch your project to local people, but in a way so that they could see the direct benefit, because sometimes it's difficult, especially when you see like a few $1,000s or whatever. You say about how are you going to get that back, because with film the returns on the investment may not be financial. But I definitely know if we tell a good story about the Garifuna and the heritage and the colonization of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, if we tell it so that the world is interested in it, if we tell it so that it speaks universally, I think it will attract people to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It will attract the diasporian American Garifuna people. It will attract other Caribbean nations people who are interested in their indigenous roots. And it will attract more Europeans, which is supposedly what we want to boost our tourism industry. So, I see it being beneficial. I see exactly how it benefits St. Vincent, but I haven't been able to convince the people in charge.
Eckley, I want to ask you, and you run right into what was going to be my next question is, do you think that enough is being done to preserve the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, especially when it comes to our indigenous sector?
No, I don't think enough is being done. I think we leave a lot of it to people who sort of have their own motive or their own interests, like a lot of PhD research people who do their dissertations and then they take that information, what they find out, and they publish it. It goes to whatever archive, and then it's not available to the people in St. Vincent or the people from St. Vincent and its diaspora. So we don't learn the things that they learn. And also, it's also in like a format that is not like easily digestible, So it's an academic thesis. Like, not everybody is interested in reading that language, but the lesson that you learn from the language, people are interested in that. So,
right. Because the reason I'm gonna support you on that, because I think a few years ago, or it could have been 10 years ago or less, a ship surfaced in Byra around that area there, and like I remember talks were saying they should try to save that ship so that it can be like a piece of artifact that people, because like you said, it would be a vehicle to attract tourism, and because there are people outside who are interested in indigenous studies, and not only indigenous studies, there are people who are interested in seeing or learning about how cultures were formed or what happened back in the day of slavery. If we, even us local people, we can't even trace, like what happened to our ancestors. We can't even trace like, where they came from, or we can't even see a piece of, like, I remember when I was growing up, you would see a little stone and you would hear about, stuff that the indigenous people did to catch fire. They would rub two stones together and stuff like that. But we actually had that thing in our possession, those things in our possession, and we did not preserve them. So, and are there, my next question is, are there anything around that we can hold on to
there are lots of things that we hold on to. I mean, there are things that we hold on to without even knowing it, like our vast knowledge of bush medicine. Everybody, and in every village, somebody you get a cold, you get a fever, go pick some of this, boil it up, or eat a bark, and that is part of the indigenous language that has stayed in the oral traditional, There's also some of the food that we cook, like the boiling, I go to Honduras and to Guatemala, and they have a pot just like our boiling, like literally the same way, and the same kind of concept in terms of like, the boiling is really like is a Saturday pot or is a man pot, you make a boiling and drink some rum, and it's the same context, and these people don't, I mean, in terms of like development now, like St. Vincent developed parallel to them. So when you exhibit the same traits, it lets you know that the origin is the same origin that we have, right? It's just that it's interpreted in a different way. There are other things as well, like the cassava bread, the bam bam cake. That also is preserved. People still make it. People in town still selling it, and they make it the same way, the same method in Central America as well. So that has stayed alive. And the other thing, I guess, that could be interesting to explore is some of our dream culture. Like I don't know if you could attest to the fact that, Vincent, you say when you have a dream, when you wake up and you say, "Oh, I had a dream last night," and that dream foreshadows that something that actually comes true. Well, the descendants of the people who were exiled in Central America, they have a whole belief system that reconnects that ability to a wider Kalinago sort of understanding of God and the cosmos and all of that. So, a little bit of that still exists within us, but we don't know why we're doing it. A lot of it comes through in the spiritual Baptist. The spiritual Baptist actually bears a lot of similarity to this ritual that the Garifuna have to honor their ancestors called the Dugu, which is a honoring the dead ceremony. And so you see, like, there's bits and pieces of it that still kind of exist. Now, on the ground in St. Vincent, it's way more interesting because for years we've been doing the thing and we didn't know what we was doing. Like when I was younger and I used to go and catch crayfish, and go bust a river cook, the basket that we used to use, the bamboo basket, how it was wrapped, how it was weaved, that is a carrot basket. That is a Kalinago basket. But because I grew up in an English kind of space and I didn't really pay attention, and this is a bushman basket, I didn't understand the value of it,
Right.
And the same basket that they used to use now they used to say that is the bread basket, it's like it's made from this tapioca grass. It's like a square lunchbox kind of shape in straw kind of basket. And that too is Kalinago. Even the mats, the grass mats that people used to have, all of that is Kalinago technology. When you go now to all of that. Yeah, well, the brooms too, but I think the brooms as well. Definitely the brooms as well. But the brooms are made from bamboo, so we have to research. Yeah. So we have to research that differently. And then the design is very European, like how you split the bamboo and make the stick as like a European broom, like a witch broom.
So do you think the younger generation now, the younger Garifuna from the Garifuna community there in St. Vincent, do you think they really put emphasis in learning about the heritage?
We have some soldiers, advocates, some ambassadors of this culture who have been doing it their whole lives, and some have even like made business out of it. But they're like aunties and uncles, and right now they're teaching other people how to do it, in an effort to start to like preserve it and to give, just to like share some, because everybody is now coming to terms with the fact that these are our original things, because we were blinded by looking outside. The other thing I want to mention is the history of pottery, of clay, of making clay pottery. Like that's another thing that we inherited from the Kalinago and from the groups that were here before the Kalinago, because St. Vincent was settled by different groups came up from South America, not just Kalinago. Kalinago is the ones that the Europeans met, but there were people here before. When they dug up the mountain at Argyle to make the new airport, they found remains of people who they claim date back to 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. Wow. So, and those were clay figurines as well. They found it within the graves or in the burial spaces.
And what did they do with those artifacts?
So that's what I wanted to say now. So in Kingstown, it's the only little bit of a thing that looks like a museum. Downstairs, the Carnegie building, which is the Alliance Française. The bottom floor has what is like a museum where a lot of these things are housed on display. I mean, I think it feels like it's part of like the tourism thing, because like again, we haven't educated our people as to the significance of these things, but there is a display there, and you can go in and see some of it in Kingstown right now if you want to, which is great. My only challenge with it is that I've been trying to get permission to photograph them. And there's like a board of people, like 12 people who have to decide. And the last time I asked, they said, hell no. So I guess they don't understand, like what I'm doing. When I get a big American or European co-producer to support the film, I'm sure St. Vincent will open the gate. Will open the gates and say, yeah. So I'm being positive,
Yeah. So, and I was saying on your film, Haruna, Land of the Blessed, what contents people can expect in it, and what do you want them to take away from it?
Yeah. Well, the film is the journey of a young guy from St. Vincent who sort of goes into exploring his roots, because he grew up in a single parent household, not knowing his father. And he always knew that he had some family from Greg's, and that's kind of how he sort of taps into the interest of the indigenous stories, because his father comes from Greg's. So he goes to Greg's, and then he discovers the story of the Garifuna, and that Greg's is actually one of these places that sort of like was a hideout, like a maroon town. And from there he starts to want to find out more. So he goes and he tracks down, the local uncles and aunties who had similar conversations and went on similar journeys, like Dr. Adrian Fraser. So, he goes to find out more about the history of the island. So there are interviews with historians and activists and different Vincentians who have already went on similar journeys. And then he embarks on the journey all the way to Central America to do a similar thing, to talk to the people who are there, to find out what they remember and to see what we have in common, and also to sort of like learn things about how life was before, so that he could take it back to St. Vincent and, give it to his people and maybe to his children, this new knowledge. So that's the story.
Okay, so and where I guess later on we're gonna give you a chance to let people know where how they can watch this film. So I'm gonna pass you over to Sip again, but before, just let you know that here at Vinci Internet Radio, we try to our best for people like you who are trying to get the exposure. So whenever you have anything you want to get promoted or you want to let people know out there, feel free to contact myself or Sip, and we can give you that time of the day to promote your stuff. So I'll let Sip take you over there now.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that.
Tell me, what are some of the setbacks you have in doing your research throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines? What are some of the, I should say again, obstacles that prevent you from really doing your research?
Well, the obstacles came in different phases. I guess the first one had to do with confidence, because it's like a major story about the country, and just to be like confident enough to like take on that boldness and that responsibility. Then the second phase now is that I wanted to do it, but not just to do it as a project, but like I want to do it as business as well. And I want to be able to like collaborate with different organizations in St. Vincent. And I came up with a budget for the Latin American phase. And right now the big challenge is to raise that funding to fly there, and then to do the interviews. I would also have to take like a film team or hire a film team there. So that's a challenge. Like I was able to do most of the filming in St. Vincent with my resources and with help from different people in the community and from my extended community. But in Latin America, like there is like a cost to get there and to film there. So that's a big challenge right now. But yeah, like before that was investigating, like getting the information. Like I say, a lot of the information had to come from research that were done by Europeans and Americans, and reading different novels and history books to get some of the context. And I mean, these books are in St. Vincent as well, and a lot of research has been done by different historians in St. Vincent. Dr. Adrian Fraser is one of them. So there is information available, but then there's also like a big challenge just to just to figure out how to do it creatively, and yeah, I think that's been the challenge. I mean, as far as a journey with this project, I think it has been a good journey so far. I've managed to create something that I think is that well represents St. Vincent and well represents the story of St. Vincent, and it's very personal and important to me, and other people have like responded to it, to the version I have so far. And I feel like there is like a trajectory that makes me feel I will get to completing this film. But it's just a process, you know.
Filmmaking is not a big thing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
No.
How do you get around your ideas to people? Because we know in our culture what it is when you say you are a filmmaker. So how do you pitch your ideas to people and to get them to come on board with you to at least sit down and listen to you?
Well, in the beginning, I was a little bit more naive, and I would pitch my big ideas about filmmaking, not only about my projects, but like individual film projects, but also like developmental projects for our community in St. Vincent. I want to let you know that in 2014 I applied and was awarded a scholarship to go to Cuba to study cinematography, and part of the deal was I was supposed to do I was bonded with the government, like I chose to be bonded, and so I would go and study, and the deal is I would come back and develop filmmaking in our community. But sadly to say, after I completed the program, I came back home, I went to service commission and I reported in. They didn't know what to do with me because they don't know where to fit my qualifications. So I was like, okay. I came up with a proposal, different, like workshops and projects that you could, that would sort of like kickstart a film industry, but, training some people to work as a crew and then creating projects that these people could work on. And nobody ever responded to me. So after a while, after a while, the bonding agreement with the government sort of like went out the door, and I left St. Vincent and went to Canada and just grind and work. I had this job in Canada for a little while, and I bought some equipment and came back home and just decided to do what I was intending to do with the government just by myself, and I help people who are interested and come up with I look for different opportunities like on the internet and different grants, and I pitch my programs, and I collaborated other people. We had one success story so far, which is thankfully to say a collaboration between myself and the Ministry of Culture, where we were able to train up to 15 Vincentians in documentary filmmaking and like the basics of film and photography. So I would say a little bit of the shift into this whole understanding of filmmaking is happening right now. There are also, like I mentioned before, other young people who showed an interest in filmmaking and who have been working towards developing products based on that interest. There's even a film festival in St. Vincent called the Hairuna Film Festival, which was started by Aiko Rudet. And the festival it was started in 2019. So now we're going on to the third year. Last year they had to go virtual because of COVID. And I'm looking forward to see how they go this year. But it's usually like go around the island and show the work of different persons in St. Vincent who are trying to make films.
You say you spent some time in Canada. We know in Canada, if you are in Canada, Montreal and Vancouver are two of the biggest places when it comes to filmmaking in Canada. You had an opportunity to go to those places and see how they construct a movie or filmmaking?
Unfortunately, no, I didn't. I did go to Montreal, but I was just there for like one night. I was passing through. I was with the tourism team, sort of like documenting one of Vinci's tourism expos. So that was my trip to Montreal. But every time I went to Canada, I was based in Toronto. I was working for this small film festival called Caribbean Tales International Film Festival. Actually, I did actually visit Ottawa too one time, just passing through. But in Toronto, I did see a bit of how the bigger end of the industry does it. I had a lot of opportunities to like, to like go to sets and go to different studios because, like I said, I wanted to be a part of the work at the highest levels possible. So I did, look for ways to put myself in the space. Apart from that, I would say like the biggest experience I had in terms of the cinema world was during my studies in Cuba, because the school there is like super well renowned and very it's one of these schools where you're not trained by people with PhDs, but people who fly in from a job on an active film set to teach you different things. So I had a very hands-on experience there. And then I also worked on a project that was a co-production between Trinidad, Canada, the UK, and Africa and Ghana. This film was called Hero, and it's the story of a serviceman from Trinidad called Ulrich Cross, who was one of the highest decorated Black persons in World War II, the highest decorated West Indian in World War II. He was a fighter pilot, and the film was a documentary of his life. And we started in Trinidad doing like reenactments of his childhood, and then we filmed in London, in Ghana, and finished in Toronto. And that's been my, like my biggest big movie production experience. On that film, I was the co-writer of the script and co-cinematographer. So, like that was like my life-changing movie set experience. I did have another big production experience in Trinidad, where the university was making this film called Sweet Bottom. Obviously, people might feel a kind of way, but anyway, yeah. So it was like a big budget, the highest production value and professionals that the Caribbean had at that point in time. Yeah. So those are my big movie production experience. I unfortunately I hadn't developed my interest in film when Pirates of the Caribbean came to St. Vincent, unfortunately. So I couldn't take advantage of that. But I wish I had.
Filmmaking is very expensive. We know that. Putting all this together, if you have to go out, how do you expect to gather some finance for your project?
Well, the way how I've been doing it so far has been, what I did was I first secured the equipment that I think was necessary. Like I purchased them with my money, and I own the equipment. So the phase in St. Vincent, I was able to film that with a colleague of mine who came to St. Vincent, she came to St. Vincent to help me. And we sort of created the first phase of the project. So all of that expense and cost was incurred by myself and by her. And the next phase of the project now, what I've been doing is using what I've done so far to sort of like build up the profile of the project. And so far the 8 minutes that I have produced have already like shown at different festivals. And some of these festivals allowed me to meet different, executives and film producers across the world. I even had some meetings with some French production companies who showed some interest in the project. And together with one of these companies, I applied to one of these international French film development grants. It's called Cinéma du Monde. And you submit your project and your budget and your idea. And within, like I say, some countries have a cultural development fund. In France, they have cultural development funds for French companies to work with international producers to develop different projects. And what you have to do is submit your project and it will be judged. And if you come back successful, then you'll be greenlit for funding. So they'll give a percentage towards your budget. So that's what I've been doing in these past 2 covetous years. I've also done some GoFundMe, but a lot of the support, like I say, some support was coming from locally, but a lot of it was really coming from people outside, and then it kind of just coast to a stop. So that has been my my strategy so far. Something significant recently happened where another project I'm doing. This is a project about Barrowlee and the whaling in Barrowlee and whaling in St. Vincent. And this project, I submitted it to one of these artist development opportunities, and it was picked up by this it's this development opportunity that is funded or co-produced by Hulu and If Then Media. And I mean, I'm working on that right now, I'm working towards some deadlines by the end of this year where I have to deliver this film. And the hope is that this film will be another sort of like another business card to help me to get past another level, to build my profile up, to help me and my future projects to qualify better for some of this international funding. So that has been the strategy. Apart from that, I have like a poor man's plan, which is to get myself to Belize somehow with my equipment and find people to collaborate with in Guatemala. I have that set already. I have people to collaborate with there, and other people to collaborate in Honduras and Nicaragua. And because I'm a CARICOM citizen, I could go to Belize and live like I am in St. Vincent in terms of like work permission. So I could probably stay in Belize for a little while. And if I'm based there, then I could do what I did to film the first segment, on a shoestring budget. And that's I think that's going to be my plan in the end to get it done.
You sound very strong and you know exactly what you want to achieve. So my advice to you is to keep on pushing. One of these days, you're gonna reap your reward. And everything you do, there's always obstacles in your way. You can just overcome them and just move forward.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
What plans you have for the future besides you say you want to go to Belize and work there for a little bit to get some experience? What other plans in the pipeline?
Well, there are two plans in motion. One of them is another short film that I need to deal with. I need to finish this one and start that one as soon as possible. This one is a little bit of a tickle. It's really a story about some of the sexual violence and aggression that women have received in St. Vincent. I wrote a script for a short film, and it was picked up by the Commonwealth Writers, and they gave us a small budget to turn the script into a short film. So that's going to be my next challenge. I think that's how I'm going to start January next year. So there's that. I'm not going to say the name yet, but that's the next challenge. And then the bigger challenge, which I'm scheduled to complete by November of 2022, is a project. Right now, the working title is Facades. A facade is like a beautiful exterior of a building, or somebody who puts on a beautiful sort of like face or impression, but then underneath there's something else. And this film Facade wants to focus on emancipation and education from the Caribbean perspective. And it sorts of roots the conversation it wants to have in the case of this gentleman called Thomas Phillips, who was we just call them, he was like a landowner, a plantation owner, an absentee plantation owner. And the plantation that he owned was the Camden Park Estate. And if you guys know Camden Park today, it's like the industrial zone in St. Vincent. It's where the international shipping and crate facility is, and a lot of other factories in St. Vincent. It's where they are. So what happened is about 200 years ago, this plantation owner received a sum of money for reparations as a planter, and he was able to retire as a wealthy man in Wales, and he used some of that money to fund a university called the University of Wales Trinity St. David, and he was one of the major donors or contributors to the creation of that university, and his wealth was primarily from his plantation in the West Indies in St. Vincent. So a few months ago, the government here had released a statement saying that this said university had awarded Vincentians some, the equivalent of £1 million in scholarships.
Whoa.
And so just like you, I was like, whoa. And I was like, okay. I mean, I am interested in doing a master's, but they didn't have anything in film or media on the list of scholarships. So I didn't really bother. But then someone from the university reached out to me and then sort of like put me in conversation with Dr. Adrian Fraser. And the plan is to develop a film that sort of like tells the story of this university's special relationship to St. Vincent, because next year the university is turning 200 years old, and it's one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in Wales. And in light of George Floyd and the globalization of the Black Lives Matter and the pulling down of the statues, a lot of universities have been sort of like trying to like justify or explain their origins. And I think this is what is happening. So they've asked me to make a project, and I accepted the challenge. And right now I'm developing a script, and I one foot in front of the other to sort of complete it. But then what I really, really want to do is to build like a good creative space or creative studio space in St. Vincent, where where people could come to develop creative projects, but also get a creative education. So that's my big future goal, because you want to sustain all of these doors that are opening. You have to keep them open somehow, right?
Right.
And
so because just before I wrap up, I know you have three other projects that you have done, plentyoftalent.com and Black Film Doll, and along with Hiruna. What is just tell us briefly, the blacktalent.com and Black Doll.
Right. So Black Doll was a short film about beauty and confronting how we perceive beauty in St. Vincent. Whenever you leave, well, for me, whenever I leave St. Vincent and I come back, it's like my eyes are sort of like revamped, and I get to like refresh my perspective. And after being away for so long in Cuba, when I came home, the fact that a lot of people who I went to school with had children, but what was even more shocking was that they too were buying their children, white Barbie dolls and all of that. And I was like, I thought that was like a thing from the previous generation. I didn't know we were doing it too. So I wanted to confront that. And that's what the story is about. It's about this little girl who confronts her white dolls. Just like a social political piece, just to like point your finger at something that's sort of like reoccurring. The other film that I could mention is there's this one called Crafting Our Indigenous Heritage, which was created this year, 2020 in March. I finished it to screen it in time for Heroes Day. It was broadcast on FBG TV and released online. But again, the goal was to just, sensitize Vincentians a bit more about some of the indigenous stories that we have here, just to put them on the media. It's not that we don't know them, but, sometimes people wouldn't value them because you don't see them on TV. They're not showing up on your social media feed, So because nobody is creating the media. Independence is right now, but, where is the media to explain why we are free and why we are independent, so that people could value it, even, especially now that you can't go out to the beach. And, you could still go beach, but you can't go and party with your family like usual to celebrate freedom.
Have a little Coke and stuff like that.
Right. Well, now you could have a small Coke and watch a documentary about your history home if we had it.
So I just wanted to tell the folks who are listening, the folks who are watching, where they can find you on social media.
Yeah. So my business page is at Island Rebel Media, and I also have a website, www.islandrebelmedia.com. And on the rest of social media, it's Ackley Olton, like my name. Ackley Olton is on Facebook, Instagram as well. Feel free to get in touch anytime.
And folks, I just want to tell you that his YouTube channel, check out his YouTube channel. Very informative, very educative. Ackley Olton, the YouTube channel. So Ackley, it's been a pleasure to have you, man. You're very inspirational. I've learned a lot from you today. I've learned a lot from your documentary. I'm planning on preparing myself to watch Hiruna. Just let you know, man, like whenever you have any promotional stuff again, feel free to get in touch with us, and we'll definitely give you that time of the day to showcase yourself and to let the people know you're out there. And we'll as well try to promote this little interview so that people can know that you're out there. So, thanks again for coming through, and God bless you in your venture. I'll just hand you over to Sid.
Just wanna let you know that you're gonna send me some information. If you don't send it to me, you can send it through Moulton. We're gonna give you a link to our webpage. We're also gonna give you a link to our Facebook feed. And anytime, as Moulton said, you have anything that you wanna get out there, don't be afraid to get it. If you want some jingles, we can also provide that for you, because one of our main aim here at Vinci Internet Radio is to promote culture, Vincentian West Indian culture. And that's one of the main things that when I started this program is to kind of get Vincentians out there. But I'm going to tell you one of the things, the hardest thing to get, or the hardest people to get to come on the radio are Vincentians. I'm getting requests from so many people around the world, not Vincentians. And anytime I pick up on a Vincentian, I want to push them a little bit further. So anything you have, anything you want, any promotion you want, if you want a jingle to promote something, if you can't get in touch with me, or if I'm not responding fast enough, get in touch with Moulton. I would like to thank you for being around with me again on Vinci Internet Radio. It's really been a pleasure. I think we have a lot of information. And for someone, we're going to bring you back again, because I think this is a lot of information and you have a lot more information to offer the people. So somewhere along the line, we're going to invite you back again on Vinci Internet Radio to let the people know, because a lot of cultural information about St. Vincent and the Grenadines that I missed and I didn't know. So all in all, thank you. Have yourself a wonderful week, and all the best in your future endeavors. Thanks again.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share, And I just want to encourage my Vinci people then to talk, because like you say, Vincentian spirit for talk, so I just want to encourage people to express and say what's on your mind.
True.
Thank you again.
All right.
You're welcome.